Hey everybody, welcome back to Checkpoint on Campus. Norris Howard here. We're now joined by some special guests. One face you're very familiar with, Dominic Schatzan. He is one of our producers who joins us. He usually gives great ideas and we put him on camera, kind of get him to shut up for a while. And then we also have Ben Morse joining us. Now, Ben has a lot of titles, but you also know him as host of one of our other Checkpoint shows, The Other Identity. He also helps out with On Campus, functioning as a sort of a faculty advisor, if you will. But I don't want to say that because that's an age reference and he gets real bent out of shape about that kind of stuff. But anyway, I wanted to bring these folks together so we can have sort of a multi-generational conversation around video games. Everybody here has been to college or finished college or whatever, and video games were a vital part of their college experience. And so I wanted to go around the horn and talk a little bit about the video games that defined college for you. Because at the end of the day, if it's not for college, if it's not for our social groups while we were in college, a lot of us don't play the games that we're playing right now. So I want to start with Dominic. I want to start with you, Dom, and then I want to go to Jacob, because the games that you guys are playing might differ very greatly from the games that myself or Ben played. So, Dom, what are some of the games that, when you look back on this time in your life as a college student, what are some of the games that you will remember fondly?
I can talk about two different periods of college for me, because there was pre-Army Dominic that went to college, and then there's post-Army Dominic that went to college. And pre-Army Dominic was all about Madden. That was 2010 through 2012, and that was when Madden still hadn't really fallen off yet, and the esports scene hadn't really grown as much as it has in the past 10 years. So Madden was like, that was back then when you did the couch split screen, you know? That was like kind of your college tournaments back then. You go and you show up and you get in a room with a bunch of stinky dudes and you play Madden, or you play Call of Duty or Halo. Those were pretty much the ones of my youth, obviously, and that was when Halo was still a thing. I mean, it's sad to see that one go. I wish it would make a comeback, but Infinite's not looking good.
I don't. Halo can go away as far as I'm concerned.
But since then, I think the thing that's defined my post-Army college gaming career is just battle royales. Apex Legends, Warzone, and Fortnite. I mean, those are the ones that, for me, like, I could hop on with any of the students that I met, even if they're younger than me, and then also my friends from before and the people I used to play games with. BRs, obviously have a really competitive scene, but it's all about teamwork. I mean, you can go and play solos and BRs, obviously, but the best way to play those games are with teams of 4 quads and really going in and having competitive and fun games. So I feel like maybe not a specific game, but those category of games, like of just BRs, those are the ones that have really had the most influence on my second college career.
Awesome. And so, actually, I was going to ask Jacob, but I don't want to talk to Jacob right now. We're going to go to Ben Morse. Because Ben, I want to talk to you because, Ben, you and I are a little bit closer in age. We're of the same generation. We grew up playing a lot of the same stuff. And so, when you were in college, what were some of the games that you or maybe your roommates and peer groups, what were you guys playing?
So I was talking to Dom about this before we came on the show, and really, like, the big one that defined my college career. I mean, we also played Madden. We also played wrestling games, fighting games, stuff like Soul Calibur, things like that. But the big one was, honestly, even though it came out while I was still in high school, it was the rediscovery of GoldenEye in the early 2000s. And it was like, we all, at this point, everyone had PlayStations and whatnot, but we all brought our old N64s to school with us. And you just you take the 4 controllers, crowd into the room, just have fun with it. And just like the gameplay of that it was such a social thing. It was the type of thing where, you get together with your friends and do it. But honestly, even like if you were at a party or something and it was boring, you just go over in the corner and play GoldenEye while everyone else is
play GoldenEye.
Yeah, it felt like it was it was in a lot of ways like the predecessor to a lot of the stuff that would kind of form the backbone of competitive esports later. But I just remember GoldenEye as being, just a formative thing. And it was funny because I, like with Dom talking about how the two college experiences, I had already played GoldenEye, when it first came out, and had that experience. Then it like came back around. It was a rediscovery. So that was probably the most formative game. I do know like when I was just out of college, so it doesn't totally count, but like when I was working at Wizard Magazine, which was a comic book magazine in the 2000s, it was the same atmosphere because it was still a bunch of guys in their 20s sitting around in the office. And at the end of the day, it was always, first it was Halo, which I was awful at, and I can't believe they didn't fire me. But first it was Halo, and then obviously because we were at a comic book magazine, when Marvel Ultimate Alliance came out, that was a big one. That
Really?
X-Men Legends. Yeah, we got really into the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance. And it was so fun. I mean, as a comics fan, like being able to play as all these characters was just so cool.
I would have thought definitely something like City of Heroes or something like that, but I understand that's like an MMO, so it's a little bit different. Jacob, very quickly, what are some of the games that you are heavy into in this current phase of college?
Yeah, when I started college, Overwatch came out. Kind of a big game. So I was on that competitive grind. It was awful, but you couldn't quit it. That's the story of Overwatch. But really, my college game was, and I'm alone on this, was Heroes of the Storm.
Heroes of the Storm.
I love Heroes of the Storm so much, and I already played it a lot. But then Lucio, one of my favorite characters in gaming of all time, was introduced into my favorite game. And so then I was playing that game about 8 hours a day as one character. Back then, they had master skins, which you could get from being max level or whatever. It took like a couple months. I got it in like a little under a month. And it's literally all I lived and breathed was Lucio in a game that wasn't Overwatch. And it's my biggest college memory. I miss those days so much. I would love to just grind Lucio again in the modern era.
Yeah. No, it's it's interesting because MOBAs, even though they were out where I was and for the communities that I was in, MOBAs were not a thing. Like League of Legends came out, was it 2009-ish, something like that? 2009, 2010. By that point, I mean, we were not playing MOBAs. Everybody was still into very heavy into sports games, very heavy into Call of Duty and stuff like that. So getting into, for me, when I first started playing a lot of these games in college, obviously Call of Duty 4 came and crushed the buildings. I mean, it's one of those you had to be there. Modern Warfare 1 and 2, just people lost their minds on at least my campus, and I'm sure around campuses everywhere. Everybody had to play that game. You had to have that game. In another game like Ben, for me, that was released earlier, but in college is where I actually played a lot of it, was Capcom versus SNK 2, which became my favorite fighting game of all time. We would, there's no arcade cabinets. There was one cabinet in all of Metro Detroit, and it was 40 minutes from the downtown where my campus was. So we would go out there and play on a cabinet, or we had a bunch of folks with laptops with Dreamcast emulators, and we would just play each other quite illegally. But it was a game that became very social because the fighting game community, this was when Smash was not as big as it was. So a lot of people were coalescing around Capcom vs. SNK 2 and like Guilty Gear XX. So people were playing those two games, and you had two camps, and you fell into one camp or the other, and I was like the only guy who at least could be competent at both. And so people were excited when we got a chance to bring those out. But it's very interesting to see this cross-section of games, because when we talk about the college experience, heretofore, from our generation until every generation, there's going to be a video game that kids in college will sit down and play and create communities around, campus communities around, and not just esports. I'm pretty sure there's a campus somewhere that's nuts about Genshin Impact. I'm sure there's a college campus somewhere that's nuts about Overwatch as a whole campus, or somebody that's, a campus is going to be nuts about the new Baldur's Gate, or whatever. So when we talk about college and we talk about video games, it's really cool that everybody had different answers in different communities that they all were a part of and made friends with and completely used it to define their college experience.